Hello and welcome to another episode of Workplace Wizards. I'm your host, Arnold Smalley, and we also have another co-host with us today. And today's title is going to be Self-Awareness and Self-Motivation. So we're going to talk about today. So let's bring on our other host is Gavin Wong, no other than the legend from Europe, England.
That's very kind. How are you?
I'm good, Gavin. How are you today?
I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, good to be here. Good to be back. So, what are we talking about today?
Today is self-awareness and self-motivation, and it
Mhm.
it ties into a little bit what we talked about last week when we talked about nothing changes if nothing changes.
Mm,
And that is, that's our powerful statement. We're going to use that throughout the rest of this year. 2026 is all going to be about nothing changes if nothing changes. So we talked a little bit about making goals. We talked a little bit about
mm.
resolutions and how to keep that. But to think about the words nothing changes means that everything's going to remain the same
Mm,
if nothing changes.
hmm
But if you want something to change, what do you say about that?
I think that's really powerful. I think the key for me, and I liked it when you spoke about last week, is that so nothing will change unless something changes. So what happens often for people is that they expect someone else to change it or
Mm-hmm.
the environment to change, and that might happen. It might happen, but you've got to be very lucky. You've got to be lucky that someone is prepared to change things for you or do things for you, or luck might just be that the world's changed and the environment's changed and all that kind of stuff. But actually, people have a lot more power than they realize in terms of being able to achieve different things. But they're the ones that have got to take control and do something.
Right.
Because if they don't decide to do something different, it will stay the same. Um, but I think a lot of people, and this is why I do a lot of coaching, is that just to kind of empower people to realize actually they have the power to make a big difference. And there might be things they can't control. It's absolutely true. If you're going for a promotion or a job, and there might be someone might just perform better than you, okay, or they've got a better um, CV. That's just where it goes. You can't
You,
control them, but you can control what you do to give yourself the best opportunity to get that position.
so when you're saying that, give yourself the best opportunity.
Hmm.
How does self-awareness play into that? How does your self-awareness play into that?
I think it plays in on many different levels because if you know what motivates you, for example, okay, or for example, what's holding you back? Sometimes it's more about, well, what holds me back? Okay,
Okay.
and actually, if you can understand how you are and how you behave, particularly at work, and you can identify things that hold you back, that might allow you to do something for those with those to allow you to achieve other things. But if you never know or never really think about what's going on, you'll never really be able to change. So that self-awareness is actually key in being able to identify what needs to change. Also, what you can influence.
Okay, I like that, Gavin. I like the way you said what holds you back. And sometimes that people are held back with their own fears. And
Yes.
we use the letters in the word fears as F as in fear of failure. We use
Mm,
E as that fear of embarrassment. We use A as that fear of abandonment, where people are just
mm,
going to leave you if they feel like you've gone off on a strange track your own, and they just abandon you. And then you
mm,
got that R, that fear of rejection,
mm.
because a lot of people are afraid they're going to be rejected when they give a new or start something anew. And then the last S is a fear of a struggle, and that struggle
Mm,
can be anything, can be financial, it can be emotional.
mm,
So sometimes it's just these fears. You got to learn to overcome these fears, and that's where
yes.
that self-awareness comes in. But
Mm,
then you need self motivation.
mm.
How does that entwine into what we're talking about today, Gav?
Well, I think that I like that description because that covers lots of different disc profiles actually.
Hmm.
Because dominant people don't like failure. Okay, so
Right.
there's that fear of failure. But actually, the S is quite good. That fear of struggle. Some people, and you'll say my profile, I'm a SI, don't like conflict. So there is actually, well, actually, that's going to be a struggle for me. Do I really want to go through that? So that fears applies to everybody for different reasons. And that's why I think that self-awareness is important, because if I know that actually it's the struggle, it's the effort I'm gonna have to go through, which I'm worried about, well, there are things I can do around that. Okay. Whether that's breaking it up into small pieces and just achieving and getting small gains or whatever it may be. But if I don't know that's a thing that's holding me back, then I can't work on it. So I think that's where that analogy is really, really strong.
Okay. Well, you brought up DISC and everything DISC, and you've now been assessed, and you come up as a strong S with a high I, right?
Yes.
What's that mean?
So interestingly, I did a DISC profile about a year ago, and I was the same actually, and I did expect it to change, which was interesting because last year I just started a new job. I just finished my career, 30 years in law enforcement. I've been quite a senior at quite senior level, and I came into a training role where I constantly acted differently. I don't want to go into this new role trying to make out that I knew all the answers and I was this, this big person, even though I understand the content. So I think that impacted on I thought at the time that impacted on my profile, but actually, interestingly, a year later, my profile is almost pretty much the same.
Right.
Okay, and I'm steady. I'm enthusiastic. I like to collaborate. I really like, a good team. And when I look back on how I used to manage large teams in particular, that collaboration and enthusiasm is a big part of why I was successful. What's interesting for me is what's driven that. And I think, because your profiles you can work on your profiles to change them.
Right.
But I think when I look back on my career, a lot of how I got into management and leadership ultimately led me to this position where I do believe in collaboration. I do believe in teamwork more than outcomes.
Okay.
Because for me, outcomes will come anyway.
Here's the thing. You're an S and an I, and you are on that side where you're people oriented. You're people oriented. So yes, you are more supportive, and you do care more about people's feelings and stuff more so than you do about completing the job. And see, I'm on just the opposite scale where I'm more concentrated on, my concentration is, and just the other day, it's funny, I was working our food distribution program, and we serve a whole lot of people here in central Orlando. And we have one of the biggest food programs in central Orlando area. And I'm working on that, and the pastor of our church walks by and he says, "Arnell, you're allowed to smile." And I just looked at him and I kind of laughed. I said, I was so focused. I was so focused on putting out fires. And we got to get this. We got to get this done. We got to get this done. And I get focused on the job. I get focused on the task. And he's looking at me saying, "Wait a minute, we like to serve with a smile." And I'm like, I don't care about the people at this point. I'm worried about the task. I'm worried about the mission. We gotta get this done so that we can serve the people, and then once we serve the people, yes, I'm gonna smile. I'll be happy that we got it done. But at that moment, Gavin, in that moment, I was so focused that, and I knew it when he said it, it hit me like, oh my God, there it is. That self-awareness of, I'm so focused on getting the task done, and I'm not worried about, the people or the the feelings of others, and worried about making people comfortable with me smiling or not smiling. So is that part of it?
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, because I think because does it matter? Sometimes does it matter that you're solely focused on outcome? There's no profile's better than anybody else. I mean, I'm better than you anyway, but my profile's not necessarily better than yours. But the fact that you are outcome focused, because at times that will be brilliant. But as you described, there are times where actually, because your outcomes are all about service and dealing with people and interacting with people, maybe at that point you need to be less worried about your D's and your dominance, your outcomes rather, and just focus a little bit more on the people. So I think there's a time and a place, isn't there, for this stuff?
Yes, I guess you could say that. Well, you also got to think that, what motivates me? What are my motivations? Are getting the things done. It's a motivation for me. Challenges or competition. I love competition, and that's why when it comes to golf, Gavin, there is no competition between us. Because that's just the way it is. But I love the competition.
We should see.
I love the competition, and those are the types of things that motivate me. Like we already talked about it. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I've already said it to you. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. But here's the thing, Gavin. I said for the year, that's my goal. But that's going to happen before the year's over. Okay. That's going to happen in the next couple of months, Gavin. Matter of fact, I got on the scale and I said, yes, I'm definitely going to lose these 20 pounds, and I'm going to do it quickly.
Yes.
We'll see about that.
And we'll see how long it takes you to put it back on. But that's a different thing.
No. It's gonna once I get to my goal, it's gonna steadily keep going down. Gavin, I'm gonna be a lean, mean fighting machine in about 6 months, Gavin.
Yeah, good. Well, it'd be good to see you return to your classic self. But the thing's interesting about you're very strong your way. I'm very strong my way. What I never considered, and this is where I think the Everything Disc was quite reflective for me, was that how do you interact with other people? So my style is in policing in the UK, we want to encourage our leaders to be supportive, and that's about getting to know their staff, knowing their different needs and requirements, being able to adjust to their level of competency, setting high standards, but actually taking more time about the person. And for me, that suits my style, SI, and that's all about, teamwork, collaboration, enthusiasm. So for me on that level, that's always been quite a straightforward thing to achieve, although I wasn't trying to do it consciously. It's just the way I always wanted to lead. But I never really thought about what the different types of people, what they would want. So yes, I might be lead and be enthusiastic, but I never really thought about, well, actually for you, particularly people are directly line managing, and as you go up, you direct line manage fewer people, don't you? But I kind of never really thought, well, actually they need me just to be more directive, or this person needs me to be supportive. I kind of just generalized everybody in the same pot. And actually, had I been a bit more aware to say, well, actually for this person, I need to deal with them differently to get the best out of them.
Right, Gavin. I don't want you to go further. I don't want you to go further with that, because that's going to be our next topic. That's next week. That's our next episode is more on that. How do we deal with those other individuals that Because today we're talking about ourselves and our self motivation and what motivates us, our self awareness on us. But you're getting into next week's topic, where we are going to come back next week, and we're going to talk about how do we cross over? How do we? Can we influence others that are not like us? How do we motivate them? How do we speak their language? How do we adapt our leadership styles to accommodate those people in other styles? So that's going to be next week's topic, Gavin. So quit getting ahead of us, man. Let's stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Right now we're going to talk about our self-awareness and our self-motivation. And we got about 1 minute left, Gavin. So we got any closing thoughts?
Well, I think thanks for telling me off in front of everybody, but it isn't. Yeah, but the awareness is to understand that. I guess awareness is to understand that our styles don't suit everybody.
Yeah,
and we need to be agile in order to change our styles, because people want different things. So I think yes, you're right, and we can work about how we can, if we understand that, how we then can support people in a much more effective way.
All right, Gavin, thank you very much for your input on that. And but next week, we'll open it up, and you can go right along with what you were just talking about. And how can we compromise? How do we collaborate when we're dealing with individuals that have different styles than us, different beliefs, not beliefs, but because we all pretty much believe the same thing, but it's how do we go about it? When there's a goal, when there's something that we need to achieve, we all go through about it differently. So this is the end for us today. Arnold Smalley and Gavin Wong are saying goodbye. And if you'd like to reach out to us, hey, give us a text at 754-971 7007. And we'd love to hear from you and give us some topic matters that you'd like to talk about, and we can include those in our Workplace Wizards podcast. So for now, we're going to say goodbye.
Bye-bye.